What's good, everybody? It's the Real AG here, back at you again on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network. And with the 2025 Combine coming to a close, we are bringing you an exciting series this week where we review those Combine results across the various position groups, talk about our sure shots, our sleeper picks, and some guys that we feel took a stock hit due to their Combine performance. Being the former offensive lineman myself, naturally, I'm going to talk to you about them trenches, baby. That's right. We are going to be covering the offensive and defensive line combine performances and the ones that we think rose to the top, as well as some guys who may be lying in wait. So let's just get right into it as we uncover the top prospects for the trenches. Getting first with the most important group on the football field, and you cannot tell me I'm wrong. We're going to start with the offensive line. Looking at the combine, there were a lot of big named offensive line prospects, some guys that I think solidified where people thought they would be going, and some that I think surprised some NFL scouts with their athletic performance. So first and foremost, let's get into the sure shots with the offensive line. And, first on my list would have to be LSU left tackle Will Campbell. I mean, he has all the size, 6'6", 319, had a brilliant athletic performance at the combine, 4.9840, 32-inch vert, 9-foot 3-inch broad jump. There were some concerns that I think became more prominent as they took some measurables. People have been knocking him on his arm length and overall wingspan, which, did come in at a little bit below par range for what NFL scouts like for a left tackle. But considering that and what he has done on film and, on the combine field over the weekend, there are some tackles out there that just have enough athleticism and technical skill to make up for the lack of length. And I think Will Campbell is absolutely one of those types of tackles, should be considered as that type of tackle, and in my opinion is a lock to be a future franchise left tackle for some team that is very much in need of added protection. Looking at what he did with the athletic tangibles, looking at his film, you see the quick feet and fluidity in everything that he does, pass pro, one blocking, next level, any of those. And realistically speaking, I mean, his athletic performance backed up what he's done on film playing in the SEC. And again, let's not forget, he was a 3-year starter, starting 38 games at left tackle for the LSU Tigers. Great durability with that resume. And on top of that, he went 27 straight games without allowing a sack, with, again, a majority of those opponents being SEC caliber D linemen. So Will Campbell, surefire pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And my next sure shot in the offensive line, this one comes with a little great pride. It's my boy Armand with Mizzou, baby. I had some first round potential coming into the combine, and I think only solidified that with the athletic display that he just put out there over the weekend. And thinking about the offensive line collectively, I feel like there's always one lineman who puts out a crazy 40 time, 3-cone time, something that scouts would not expect due to their size and weight. Armand, absolutely one of those guys, standing at 6'4", 332 pounds, just an absolute unit for the Missouri Tigers, and shocked people with the 4.91 40-yard dash on Sunday. You couple that, he also had a 1.74 10-yard split, a 34-inch vert, and a 9-foot 7-inch broad jump. So, I mean, elite athletic display, both at the combine and in his film. Has extreme explosiveness, in run blocking and pass blocking, and realistically climbed up the draft ladder, like I said, in what he did. He had a Tristan Wirfs type, combine performance that I think is only going to just skyrocket him up. He's definitely not as technically sound as Will Campbell. And again, he played right tackle for Missouri, so it's a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison. But I mean, the tangibles are there, and again, he can be a plug and play solution to a team that needs some added protection with the offensive line. And just to round things out a little bit on these sure shot offensive linemen, both Campbell and Armand were are two of four offensive linemen since 2023 to weigh over 315 pounds, post a 30 plus vertical jump, and run a sub 5 second 40-yard dash. So again, the athletic display was just oozing over the weekend. And then moving off of the sure shots to a guy that I think is a little bit more of a day two, day three pick, but definitely is going to rise up to the top a little bit more after his combine performance, and that is Jonah Savania from Arizona, who is another offensive tackle. Has kind of a similar size to Armin, 6'4", 324, similar athletic ability, 4.95 40. But I think the other thing, looking at the athletic tangibles, he's put versatility on tape. I mean, he's an intriguing prospect because he has played significant snaps across three different O-line positions, during his time at Arizona. You look at, he split time pretty evenly between left tackle and right tackle. And then you also played right guard for almost 800 snaps in 2022. So, has that athletic ability, has the durability, being a 3-year starter, and has the versatility starting across three different areas on the offensive line. So, I think he is going to certainly rise to the top, um, be a sleepy O-line rookie with some versatility, again, to a team that's in some pretty big need. And you'll see I noted my ideal landing spots being the Texans, Bears, and Cardinals, which I think we all can agree definitely need some help up front. And then, to round things out with our offensive line, let's look at a guy that I think had some high praise going into the combine, and then, ultimately took a stock hit with what he put out there over the weekend in Indy. And that would be our very own Tyler Booker, an offensive guard, out of Alabama. Again, Booker, in my opinion, was a clear-cut first-round offensive guard talent before the combine workout started. I mean, he even looked the part when they took his measurables. You can see it right here: 6'5", 321. I mean, SEC caliber lineman with the prototypical offensive guard size for the NFL. But then, the on-field drills started, and brother, it was not a good time for old Booker. First and foremost, he was the only offensive lineman that did not reach over an 8-foot broad jump. So, explosiveness not on display. He was in the 45th percentile in 40-yard dash, 3-cone drill, short shuttle, and the vert. And I think perhaps his biggest red flag was the 1.96 10-yard split. And for those of you that don't know, offensive line, you measure them on the 3-cone drill, the L drill, and the 10-yard split. Because, who's going to be sprinting 40 yards playing O-line? Like, let's be real. But, just looking at Booker's 10-yard split, if that was, is eventually a confirmed time, that would be the third slowest split time by a guard in combine history. So, again, as you see, the stock trend is down, 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 because while he has the size, the athleticism is not there. And I think, teams are ultimately going to take him off his board, or certainly not consider him in the first round like they probably did before the combine started. So that rounds out our offensive line. And we got to take the good with the bad. We talked about the unsung heroes here on the offensive line. Now let's talk about the dirty demons over on the defensive side of the ball. That's right, the defensive line. And my number one sure shot defensive lineman in the 2025 draft is Mason Graham, D tackle out of Michigan. Certainly has the frame to be that big stalwart D tackle at 6'3". He was 296 at the combine, which is a little bit underneath the listed 320 he was at Michigan. But, really his only knock is that his weight, his burly frame, and stubby arms are kind of the things that I think teams will hang their hat on to discredit his value. But other than that, I mean, he is an elite three tech. He has all the tangibles. I mean, has the resume at Michigan, and has unreal first step quickness to be a big time pocket disruptor. Um, he didn't really do much like a lot of the top prospects at the combine. But again, I mean, you're talking about an experienced and elite three tech that provides, activity, power, quickness, and relentless effort when he's on the field. My comparison for Graham is Christian Wilkins. Just a guy that doesn't really pass the eye test, doesn't do anything overly eye popping, but has a high motor that inevitably creates a lot of havoc in the interior portion of the D line. So much like Will Campbell, who's getting knocked for his size, Mason Graham's going to get that too. But he has the film and the tangible traits you look for in an interior D lineman to back up taking him high in the draft, which is where I think he's ultimately going to go. Looking at my ideal landing spots for him. You got the Jags, the Raiders, ironically, to maybe pair him with Wilkins, and the 49ers, who all are in dire need of interior D-line help. And then my next sure shot for our defensive line, we're going to move over to the edge portion of the front defensive trenches here. We're looking at defensive end Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. He certainly, has the prototypical frame, what you want in an edge rusher or edge player, 6'6", 264. He put on an uber athletic display at the combine. I mean, honestly, drawing a lot of athletic comparisons to Myles Garrett. I mean, saw it right there. He 4.68 40-yard dash. He also had a 40.5-inch vertical, which is, to the Myles Garrett reference there, was the highest by any D lineman weighing 260 or more since Myles Garrett did that in 2017. And you couple that, with his 40 time and the 10.9 broad jump, those are all very impressive traits. And, like I said, he uses his length. He's a high energy, kind of unorthodox pass rusher. And he has a pretty good handwork to kind of create the open edge off the tackle. He's not a natural edge bender by any means, but, I think his athletic tangible traits coupled with the high motor and unorthodox movement in the pass rush game, could make him a big disruptor at the next level. And, looking at the ideal landing spots, I got Coach and Robert's team, the Chargers, as well as the Bills, who are certainly teams in need of a little more solidified edge help. And then, looking at the rest of the D-line performances for the combine, we got to look at a guy who, I think certainly rose his stock, put his name out there, and I think piqued the interest of a lot of NFL teams. So my defensive line sleeper for the 2025 draft is going to be no other than Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. And I know you guys are thinking like, gosh, dude, another Georgia D lineman, another Georgia D tackle. Yes. And I mean, hey, brother honestly kind of looks like Jalen Carter right here. I promise that is Tyrion Ingram's Dawkins. But I mean, quite simply speaking, Ingram Dawkins probably had, really no one had a better day at the combine than he did. He has the frame, 6'5", 276, 4.86 40. So, he's got the athletic ability, but he is a rather inexperienced Georgia D lineman. I really only started his senior year. But, he's ready to do the thing, in my opinion. He has the athletic tools and, the blend of size and quickness in the first step to do the thing, but he's still ultimately learning how to go do it. But I think going into the combine, a lot of people are looking at him as a surefire day 3 prospect. But his performance, as well as just what you'll see in his athletic ability when you go watch his tape, I think, ultimately bumps him into the top 75 conversation. So this is a guy I would look out for. And I put his ideal landing spots as the Colts or the Panthers, both teams that certainly need to bolster their D tackles. But really, I mean, any team that's just looking to take an uberly athletic, raw defensive line, defensive tackle prospect, this is your guy right here. So keep that in mind as you're looking at potential flyer picks for your squad getting into the draft here. Then to round things out, ladies and gentlemen, we got our defensive linemen that I think, took the ultimate stock hit by what they did at the combine, or really by what they didn't do at the combine. And that is Jack Sawyer, defensive end out of Ohio State. He's measured at 6'4", 260, like has, the OSU, Ohio State pedigree, and, has been a very big contributor for Ohio State. And we all saw it kind of during their playoff national championship run. But in all seriousness, I mean, his combine got off to a pretty rough start even before he hit the field. I mean, his arm length, not to keep knocking people down for their arm length, but it was absolutely brutal for what you would want an edge player, coming in at 31 and 3/4 inches. That's arguably the type of measurement that gets teams to take him off his board, all together. But, looking at that, then he gets on the field and skipped the 40-yard dash, did do all the skill position specific drills, and to his credit, looked pretty solid in those. He had smooth movement, good balance, and was technically sound to each approach. But he just lacks the uber athletic traits that would make him stand out. And looking at this draft class, I mean, it's a very deep edge class, and where teams are looking for every little reason to differentiate prospects, I think Jack Sawyer ultimately let guys leapfrog him, over the combine. Because I mean, first and foremost, like, the problem is when you're a player like Jack Sawyer and you got to come to the combine kind of with a need to prove yourself, with your athletic abilities. He must have taken every opportunity to do so, and that's just not what he did. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that rounds out our little combine / 2025 draft primer, our preview for your offensive line and defensive linemen in this class. So please be sure to like the video below, comment your thoughts, concerns, any disagreements with me. Be sure to subscribe to Lockdown Defense Sports Network so you don't miss out on any other videos. And until next time, peace.